Welcome to session 4 of Life-Death Transitions. Before we start, in this session, one of the questions was, my parent is in a stage of Alzheimer. Shall I chant O Mani Padme Hum? And the answer that I didn't give is yes. You should. But it is much better to first become familiar with this language. The mantra is a new kind of language. So the more it is familiar with you, the more it will flow over into your environment, to your parent or partner or friend or I hope not child. So it becomes more familiar for you. But for us who are not yet in that stage ourselves, now is the time to practice that. So we will go over that extensively, but when you get this recording, you will hear my answer to this person's question. And my answer was quite different because my suggestion was that the mother feels good. In this case, the mother was having Alzheimer. So an Alzheimer person, everybody, but an Alzheimer person needs to feel good. We all need to feel good. But can you make your parent feel good? Maybe it is a joke. Maybe it is an exchange that is typical between the two of you. And with absolutely all and everything, there is no standard way of behaving or of doing. So do not try to find something in these lectures that is the one and only thing to do at all times. There are exceptions for the people who are practicing, like the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum is really the language to start learning, but we'll get to that in a few days. So but when you are with your parent who has Alzheimer, the focus is on that person, and a discussion is really not possible anymore. But you can listen to the WeTransfer anyway. Make sure that you do not ask Alzheimer people questions anymore. And the same is true for people who have a hard time. If you know a person is in a difficult stage of his or her life, don't ask questions. It's just not helpful. You can ask, shall I ask questions? No, that's okay too. But don't think that you're caring with a person who's having a hard time, that you can express your caring through a question. You need to be really careful with that, because a person who's having a difficult time feels extra burdened by having to answer a question. All right, then, for the people who haven't heard this yet, I woke up last night 3 times. And I didn't sit straight up in bed, but as if I would sit up straight in bed, oh my goodness, what did I do? That was much too much information in the first 3 sessions. So if it was too much, then I apologize for that. But maybe we're up to speed a little bit now, and now we're going longer. And there is another reason why that happened too. And that is because the people here, we have to, maybe some of us know already each other for years, but it still has to get a sense of intimacy in which people feel free to express their interests. So if that is not yet happening, then I'm in a position where I, quote unquote, have to keep talking. So, and that's okay, that's how it goes, that's no problem. But for the people here, part of the program is that everything that you hear, or most of everything that you hear, should speak to you. So try to get out of a situation where, all you need to do is to listen to an hour and then you have a break, and then you listen to an hour and then you have a break. That's really not very helpful. Be on the edge, and you don't need to talk. You're fine to be quiet for 10 days or 8 days, it's no problem. But if there is no interaction, then I have no choice but to keep going. So it's a little bit of both, It's like I have been preparing in my mind for this for quite some time. So when the start is being given, yeah, let's go, then all the gates open up and everything comes out at once. But it is also this kind of topic especially, there's not like a Kumne teacher training where you have to learn this and you have to understand this and you have to learn this, and then we talk later about what you feel and think. But here is very different. This is about your life. So an exchange is more valuable for you, and the teachings will find their fine-tuning better. The teachings are kind of generic, but you can fine-tune them. You can make them more tuned in. You have general teachings, like life is impermanent, or you will die one day. That's a general teaching for all of us. But if a person speaks, then you can fine-tune that. Even you will die one day is different for you than it is for me. So the fine-tuning is really essential with the topic of life-death transitions. So having talked so much yesterday, the first session 4, I would like to spend time on some exercises, and let me tell you which ones we're going to do, and then I tell you why. The exercises we're going to do, as it looks now, is 10, 9, 7, 10, 9, 7, 10, 9, 7, 37, the first 2 parts, not the third one, and 11 of Joy of Being, second Kumne book. And the reason why we're doing now the Joy of Being and why we're doing these exercises is, and it is a little bit early, but that's again, I think that's how we teach and how we learn. We're a little bit ahead of where we are. We like to begin to go to the depths of experience. And the Joy of Being is really can be very, very helpful for that. So we like to go to the depth of experience. And why is that? Is because experience has layers. And on the more upper layers, actually it's 6, but on the upper layers, the physical world, the physical reality, including thoughts, make up our reality. And what we see and what we hear, physical buildings, physical situations, and what we hear, the people, our friends, and what they say, and all the taste and the smells that come along with that, all of those will diminish as we are growing older. They will disappear. For example, some Alzheimer's people have no taste anymore. They don't even know hot and cold. So when I would go for a cappuccino with my mother, it would just be served and she would drink it in one sip, which she certainly didn't do before, not only because it's too hot, but also that's really not how you drink coffee with each other. But she was like, oh, so she drank it and it was burning water and she didn't feel that. But that's just one example. So there's upper layers, and we tend to get magnetized in the upper layers. We tend to get magnetized, that's a word that Rinpoche uses, magnetized in what we see. So what we see, we start to think about, and we talk about what we see. We think about what we see, and we share what we think about what we see. So what's actually being seen is through filters and the thoughts of what we see. dominating the experience. And the same is with the other ones. So when we are approaching dying, but that may not happen to any one of us because we may die differently, but gradually the senses will not function anymore because life is receding, is withdrawing. Oh, excuse me, I should also say, especially to Argentina and Brazil, where they translate. I'm sorry, there was so much yesterday. So I'll make some pauses. So, on the upper layers of our experience, there are the sensory interactions, what we sense, what we think about it. That makes up our experience usually. But that part will diminish, will become less and less. And it's already happening now, right? Many of us, we are growing older, we don't hear so well anymore, we don't see so well anymore. So that process is already happening now. We can still buy glasses and a hearing aid, but at some point glasses and hearing aids cannot reach anymore, cannot transmit anymore. So these are the upper layers of our experience. Below, it is really below these sensory interactions, there's another experience. And that experience, well, there's another 1 or 2 layers below that, but that's for another day. But if you go deeper and deeper, you get into a state of mind that does not change when you die. In the last stages and the moment of death. That stage does not die. So we can call it for the moment the depth of experience. Kumne, the joy of being, focuses very much on space. The exercises are very much space related, kum related. So if we're going deep and you're going deeper and deeper, there is a chance, a likely chance that you fall asleep or that you start to nod. And you get kind of in a state where there's not much alertness anymore. That we want to learn. We want to be awake in that state for many, many reasons. Because if you go deeper, and now I'm not talking about life-death transition, but if you go deeper, you get really to the nature of our being. And that's where you, of course, can contact your passions and your real interest and your real talents. They are in that lower state. The upper one has a lot to do with conditioning. You know, your talents that you exercise and that you make a living of and that you relate to others is very much related to the upper sensory interactions as we have learned to use them. So we see what we have been taught to see. And you want to become what you see. You cannot say, well, I want to become what I don't see, because you don't know. So, but if you go more down, and then you come back up, then seeing and hearing and feeling, they are fresh. They are not anymore. They are less filtered through the mental perception, so you can see more directly. But if you go down and down, you get into the depth of experience. And it sounds maybe a little bit cryptic, but I don't know for the people who are where they are. But for us here, when we did some Kumne dancing yesterday, it was all the first night, when we sat down, I don't know what you experienced, but if not yesterday, then sooner you will experience that the room, you sense the space in the room. There's a fullness. Is that true? I don't know another word, but a fullness. And actually that's what you're going to rest on. That's what you're going to, that becomes your state of mind. Not the thoughts that appear, but this kind of, this atmospheric space. So if you go to the depth of experience, you get into this space that you feel when we do some practice and we sit still. It's, by the way, really important to open your eyes. When you don't get instructions to close them, it's really important to open your eyes. Because there's much information that comes from the external, seemingly external world. So, we're going to do Kumne from the joy of being with the sole intent to go to the depth of experience. So when we do some exercises, you hear me say go to the depth. And you don't know maybe where to go. And you can go anywhere. And one way is to go like this. So you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Or you go down, which is what I do usually. I go down, 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 down. It doesn't necessarily have to be in, but that is really what we're doing. We're going in, but that doesn't mean you have to go inside underneath your sweater, inside your bones, and inside your heart, and deeper and deeper and deeper. That is what we're doing, but you can do that by going that way, or you're going that way. So I'm saying all this, a lot of words. When we go to the depth of experience, you keep going in. And in can be straight ahead, or it can be down, or it can be inside your body. You know, I find it a little difficult if I sit straight. How can I go in? Do I go like this, or do I position myself here and then I go in? It's a little awkward. So, but whatever you are, and maybe it's good for a moment to close your eyes. Say, okay, now I go in. Another way to say it is as if you're going to the center of a circle. As if your experience is a circle and you go to the center of it. And finally, do not evaluate if you're doing it right or not. Do not tell yourself, I'm getting it or I'm not getting it, because they are really from the upper layers. I'm not getting it keeps you up here. So don't worry about it. Hopefully, the person that is giving the instruction is going there, and if he, in this case he or she, says, let's go to the depth of experience, he or she is already marching in that direction. So we're going, and we can go much deeper if we are together doing that. Much more if we are doing this together. So for now and for the next few days, trust the experience, but any mental dialogue about it will work adversely, work the opposite. So you get out of it. Whatever level you were in, by thinking about it, you get out. So just keep going in, as if you're going to infinity, and infinity doesn't have an end. So, okay, if you want to hear it, to infinity of infinity. All right? So in Kumne we breathe through nose and mouth, and the tip of the tongue up touches the upper palate. And the main reason for that is that in Kumne you want to feed the central column. So that when you breathe through nose that goes here, behind the eyes, and goes down. And there are two major channels apparently that go that way, but the main one is the central column in the body. When we die, all the energy comes into the central column. If all goes well, it may go very fast, but if all goes well, especially if it goes smooth, all the energy goes into the central column and leaves through the top of the head. So the central column in Kumne in general, our teachings is the most important, and in life-death transition, it's the main one. By far the most important. So breathe through nose and mouth, 50% through the mouth. And the tongue is up because apparently this, I don't know for myself, but apparently that breath needs to get a twist to do its work, which the nostrils do automatically. Are you ready?
Inhale up. A little bit hold, squeeze together. And exhale all the way down.
The more you do Kumne, the more you have all your faith in the title. After a while you know how to do it, and then all you're internally embodying the sentence, relaxing into space. Relaxing into space. The mind is extremely obedient. If you don't give it any instruction, it will just repeat it goes on default. It will do what it always does. So relaxing into space. And the body is helping, facilitating this process. So we will first go one direction. And maybe next time when you're up, you go forward, breathing out. In the beginning it's very physical. So breathing in, coming up. We rarely do that in Kumne, that we combine the in-breath with the movement and the out-breath. There are some, and it's good to start like this. Breathing in, coming up. Hold the breath, hold the shoulders. A little longer. And then exhaling, going forward. Relaxing into space. That's the only thing that is on your mind. And forward and down. Okay, now stay down. Now we're going to make it a little bit more complex. So now go forward and up again. Make the breath more subtle. Softer. Up. Hold. Pull in the navel. When you're up, pull in the navel. And pull up your pelvic floor. That's your anus and genital area, those muscles. And make an O out of your mouth. And go down, exhaling, releasing all of that. Releasing the belly, releasing the pelvic floor muscles. The mouth is relaxed. And inhaling, tighten the belly, pull up the pelvic floor. Make an O out of your mouth. Hold. And going down as far back as you can. Go slow. Ideally, it's the whole way down is exhaling. Then come forward, and again, navel, pelvic floor, mouth. Breathe in the whole way. Hold high. Hold the breath high. Now, take for the whole way down your exhale. So slow, slow. Begin slowly to release the belly and the pelvic floor and the mouth. So see how slow you can go. Breathing in, pull up the pelvic floor, navel, mouth. Deep, deep, deep. Keep going, keep breathing in, and hold. Now hold. And relax into space. Not only in the exhale, the inhale too. What does that mean, relaxing into space? And going back, take the whole way down for your exhale. Release everything. Continue. You know now how to do it. Higher, 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 higher. And back and down, slow, slow, slow. Okay, when you're down, we go the other way around. So you go back, inhale, navel, pelvic, mouth. Hold higher. Let your head go a little bit higher if something is pulling the top of your head up. It's all to make the spine long. And forward. Take the whole way down. Yeah, keep going. The slower the breath, and Exhaling, long. The longer the exhale, the easier to make contact with the depth of experience. Pull up the navel, pelvic floor, hold. So long exhale forward. Because the long exhale will bring you into that space in which there are no appearances. There's nothing appearing. It's just a void. Yeah, forward. It's not exactly the case, but when we die, it is as if, it's not exactly true, as if we leave on the exhale and there's no more inhale coming. So that space at the end of the exhale is essential to become familiar with. Not only for dying, but also that is where your real being is residing without any mental activity. And forward. Few more. Now keep going, but don't think so much on the physical part. Only the body knows what to do now. You hold as long as is good for you. Only what's going on is relaxing into space. The body knows what to do. When you die, you cannot control your body anyway. So let the body go. It knows what to do. You're not your body. So this is the last time going down. And then don't concern yourself with the breath. Just breathe through nose and mouth, very still. So don't focus on the body anymore. The body knows what to do. After a while doing Kumne, there is no physical awareness anymore. There is body awareness, which is not the physical body, but the energy body, which becomes the space awareness. So as you're standing now, there is space awareness. Inside, outside the body. So the physical body becomes the carrier of space awareness. You are space awareness. You're not your physical body. It's intimately yours, but it's not you, the body. So a little longer, maybe already there's a little bit magnetism in thoughts. You're less drawn towards thinking about something. And maybe you begin to see without seeing things, just more like space is seeing. You're not seeing objects, more like space. Very good. Let's move to 9. So shall I keep talking?
Sure.
So the feet are a little wider apart than usually in Kumne. Bend the knees a little bit. And you push the chest back a little bit, which makes your spine arch very gently. And see if you can open the knees a little bit. This is millimeters, this is not feet. Just a little bit. Now slowly raise your arms. Well, let's wait a second before we do that. We're going to raise our arms, but you're not interested in the physical movement. You're not aware of the physical movement. You're only aware of the space your hands and arms move through, as if space has a texture. So don't be concerned about the arms. They know how to go up. Just feel the texture of space. The arms go forward. Forward, Andy. Yeah. Ah, you do it very elegantly. All the way to straight ahead and then a little bit higher. Now gently begin to move up and down a little bit. It's very subtle. So you need to make a shift from physical to energy and space. Yes, the physical body is going up and down, but don't focus on that. Focus on the experience. You're moving up and down in space. Energy is moving up and down in space, as if you have no physical body. Disconnect from the physical body. It knows how to go up and down. You don't need to monitor that. Little slower. Because if you go a little slower, that means when you go down, it will go deeper. Not physically, just the energy. When you go up, it will continue to go up longer. So the physical body is doing the same down and up, but the energy goes more down and more up. As if the energy body is way beyond the physical body. Mind and body touching. It's really the best you can give yourself, is body and mind together. So when you go up, the energy keeps going up and up and up the head and higher and higher. When you go down, it goes down, down, into the ground. The energy of the earth mixes with yours. The energy of the sky mixes with yours. So now it is space that's moving up and down, making shapes instead of thoughts shaping the energy body. Space is shaping the energy body. All right, coming up, staying, let the arms go down, sensing space, 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 as if space has texture. So sitting down when you're ready. You may like to stand a little longer. So as you're sitting, relax into space, which will happen when body and mind are touching. Now gently discard, gently forget about the physical body. So you're sitting maybe in the 7 gestures, if not, that will come later. Sit still. So now remaining still. If you shift your attention from thinking about or noticing the body, shift your attention from thinking or body to space. Inner and outer space becoming one space. Your body is now space awareness. As if you don't have a physical body. Later we go back into the physical body, but then with the awareness of space. But for now, space awareness. The breath becomes softer and softer. It may seem to have disappeared already. Now go to the depth of your experience. Again and again. If you come out, you go back in, following the same steps. Focusing on space, discarding the body. Now go in to the depth of your experience, to the center of an imagined circle. All right, let's get up. Some of you may have noticed that going to the depth of experience is either making your head nod or a little bit falling asleep. That's one. But there's another two, is that you may expect that it is all peaceful and nice and serene, but that may not be the case. You may go through some hall of mirrors. You know what that means? Hall of mirrors. Mirrors is what you look in. So you might be going through a hall, a passage of mirrors, different kind of mirrors. Your stuff comes up, but it is not psychological or anything recognizable. It's just energetic presentations. So they will come too later. So let them come now. We go to 7. It's called opening the flow. Again, the feet are a little bit more apart, and the knees are straight but not locked. So the arms go forward again, and let's not go yet. You have to make a shift from the first book, which is where you feel the movement of the arms. And the second book is you don't worry about the arms, they know where to go. You feel space that you're moving through. So you don't focus on the body, but on the space, you're moving through. And it turns out that space has a texture. Going a little bit through the middle, like 35 degrees or so up. Then bend a little bit backward, breathing through nose and mouth. And your eyes are about 45-60% up. And you look through the ceiling, through the roof, through the clouds, through far into the distance. So arch the neck a little bit and the head tilts back a little bit, not all the way. Okay, now coming forward, bring the head up and continue moving forward and down by bending the lower back. So don't worry about your head moving. Your hinge is your lower back. Your arms and your head will just hang loosely. Let your arms and your head hang loosely. You don't have to touch the ground at all. It's how far you go. Coming up while the arms remain down. The arms do not come up. It's called opening the flow. So if you're preoccupied with the physical movements, you will not sense the opening the flow. It's all about the energy body. Experience in space. Again, the arms go forward. Feel the space you're moving through. In the beginning, you might say, I don't feel anything. It's because we're not accustomed to see and touch space. But that's essential in living and dying transition space. Awareness. Space is very, very alive. So look deep. You notice that you will look and at some point you stop. Then you either start to think or you stop seeing deeper. So then go through that. That's a little invisible wall that you want to look through. Look through your imaginary, habitual, visual walls. Don't stop. Keep looking. So here too, we go to the depths of seeing. Keep going to the depths of seeing. The body knows how to stand. You don't need to worry about that. Almost bodiless. Look to the depth of your seeing. The depth of your seeing, there are no more things, no more appearances. No more phenomena. And you look to the depth of seeing, you're opening the flow. So when you go forward and down, don't worry about the body. It knows how to go forward and down. Focus on flow, opening the flow of feeling, of experience. The body gives the direction maybe, or opens the gates, but don't worry, don't focus on the body. Only in the very beginning of Kumne do we focus on the body. So when you're all the way down, keep going down. And usually when you're down, you say, well, that's it, and then you can start thinking until it's over. No, go down, down into the earth, down the earth, center of the earth where nobody has ever been. So going to the depth of going down. It becomes space. There are no things there anymore. No phenomena. There are no thoughts. Go beyond mental activity. It's easy. If you go down, 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 you will end up there. The depth of experience. Now this is interesting, maybe for you. Come up, stay your arms down, but there's nothing coming up. Your body, yes, but you are not. Your energy is not coming up. Your energy is already up and down and into the sky. So it's only your physical body is coming up, but what it does when your physical body is coming up, it makes the energy body more pliable, more malleable, less rigid. So it can go sideways too. Your energy body is much larger than the physical body. And then last time, moving through space. You're not body-oriented, you're space-oriented. As if the body has become transparent, even absent. You're not out of your body, you're just much bigger than your body. Going to the depth of seeing 45, 60 degrees. Maybe a little different than before because it will be different. If you did 45 to 70 degrees, they're not the same. Go to the depths of seeing, beyond, beyond. Don't stop. So while the physical body is coming forward, the energy is not coming forward. Your energy is just becoming more pliable. Pliable is flexible, malleable. It can take on any shapes. When the mind is very physically oriented, it doesn't have many shapes, the energy body. Which means you have only a few mental options. So you're not going down, the body is going down, but it just makes the energy more going deeper and deeper. It follows where your fingers point. So your fingers point downwards into the earth, your energy goes down. There's no equipment yet that can go to the center of the earth. But awareness can. Why? Because it's already there. There are no gaps between your fingertips and the center of the earth. It's all awareness. Energy can follow the matrix of awareness. Coming up, the arms stay down. But you are not coming up. Remain still. Still is the quality of infinite space. When awareness and space unite. We move on to 11, the last one before the break. So the arms coming up, but feel space. No more arms moving. That's the first book. Moving through space and begin to cross, healing inner space. Fold the arms over your chest. The palm of the left hand is along the right side of your neck. And the palm of your right hand is along the left side of the neck. Press the chin down and close your eyes if that's okay for you. Don't be preoccupied with the body. Body and mind meet in the heart. It's the best we can give ourselves, is to have body and mind together, and they will meet in the heart. From there it will radiate out, Healing Inner Space, the title, begins when mind goes into the body. When that process is complete, they will meet in the heart, and the heart begins to radiate out, healing inner space, radiating out. So after a while, all you are is radiating. There's nothing else. There's no body. There's no mind and body that meet. There's no heart. There's only radiating. How far does the radiating go? As far as you looked into the depth of your seeing, as far as you looked into the depth of your feeling, as far as you went into the depth of your experience. That's how far the radiating goes. No more job, no more identity, no things to worry about just for a few minutes. All you are is radiating, simply because mind went into the body. What happens when you press a little bit more the hands? A little bit more, a little less. That pressure ring, does that have an impact on the radiating? We begin to approach a level of time where a second could be eternity, or it could be the blink of an eye, or it could be the duration of Mississippi, as long as you take to say Mississippi, or a second, a nanosecond, a blink of an eye, or eternity begins to change. You don't care anymore in that kind of time. So let's end it, and however you end it, make it elegant, grandiose, or precise, or whatever you like. Open up in a way that suits you, that is befitting. Take your time. Your radiating takes on forms and shapes, as if your energy body is dancing. Make sitting down part of this radiating, opening up, being still. At one point I said that the best thing you can give yourself is, in this context, is to have the mind in the body. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, at the time of death, the mind and the body are separating. And it's kind of a cryptic statement that the mind can only separate from the body if it's completely in the body. And it leaves through the central column, they say. So if the mind is not in the body but connected, it's much more complicated to die. It's hanging out there, but it can't finish the work because it needs to go through the central column and out. In general, the mind is very liquid and it can go anywhere all the time. And that's what we do if we're not in the body. We think of something about Nepal the other day I mentioned. So we are there, so it's not connected to the body. But the process of dying implies that the mind is separating from the body, but not only from the body. Number two, it's also separating from all the senses, all that the senses have been engaged in. So let's say you're living at home and you have a nice setting. Your mind is through the senses, through the seeing and the taste for colors and the feeling that you have at home. It's also separating from that. So the mind is also separating from everything that the senses have been engaged in. So that's in family and friends and things. So your mind is separating from you and your friends, yet completely separate. Otherwise it's kind of still hanging on. Our mind leaves the body all the time, or not leaves the body, but is occupied with things outside. And in the first Kumne book, and I would assume all spiritual practices, the mind goes into the body. That's really number one for everything. So the mind needs to be in the body. Pay attention to what you feel. That's a trick to get the body in the mind in the body. But it doesn't only separate from the body, I'm repeating myself, but it also separates from everything you have been engaged in. So for example, if your family is standing around your bed and you're dying, your mind will separate from them, as if it withdraws. Receding is a nice English word. It withdraws. So let's say that your daughter is standing at your bed and she's crying or she's saying nice things or whatever. Your mind is withdrawing from being engaged with your daughter. Is that clear? Just the theory? So you cannot help it. You are disappearing. You are beginning to vanish into space. So vice versa, your mother, or if you are at your mother's dying, there will become a distance. She is disappearing. Although she's lying in bed there, she is disappearing from being engaged with you. She won't hear you anymore. She won't see you anymore. So there's becoming a gap that is not bridgeable anymore by her. So when you are dying, you cannot bridge that gap anymore. You want to, but you can't. You may want to.
Will you experience that?
Will you experience it? Well, nobody dies according to the book. But these symptoms you have to become familiar with. Maybe you experience it and I don't, but this is what is happening. The reason why it may not happen is because once the mind separates from the body, separates from those things it has been engaged in, those things that have been suppressed come to the foreground as energetic manifestations. So when we did the exercise before, I said, well, maybe, you think you're going to the depth of experience and it's all calm and nice and dandy there. It's not, maybe. Eventually it is, eventually. But you may go through a layer of unexplainable, unrelatable images or energetic experiences that you cannot relate to. You don't know what it is about. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily all nice, and that's one of the reasons why people fall asleep, because they are not accustomed to face it. Or why some people cannot fall asleep, because they may go through that. You know, when I'm going to bed, usually, boom, bye-bye. But some people go very different. Yeah? They may go through these stages. And when you're in this stage where you're leaving what the mind usually is engaged in, you come through this layer or this space where whatever has been is part of you but doesn't play an active role that you know about, it still comes up. So falling asleep, why people cannot fall asleep has very, very, very different reasons. It's not strictly medical. It's not just because, you know, you drank coffee or because your mind is racing or because you're worried about tomorrow. No. It's much, 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 much deeper. You're going through a layer, some of us, not me usually, you're going through a layer where these things come up that are there and they present themselves in maybe not necessarily, certainly not recognizable images, but just energetic turmoil. You cannot fall asleep. And then you may start thinking, but that's not why. You're afraid to die. That's really what's happening. We're afraid to die. Now, when I fall asleep, I'm not afraid and not afraid. I'm just totally unaware. So with the people who are going slowly asleep, maybe it's also age-related. It's not just one thing or the other. Older people may have a harder time. Younger kids, they just go fall asleep. You know, you drive your baby around the block and they're sleeping. If you drive me around the block, I'm not sleeping yet. So for some people, you may go through this stage where whatever is part of your body-mind makeup starts to present itself. And now I would say don't listen to me necessarily, but I think it's worthwhile to stay awake. Don't worry too much. If you start to worry about it, then you need sleep. But if you're lying still, the body is resting and your mind is presenting what's always there. So don't worry that you need sleep, because what you're really asking is to become a zombie. You know, like, that's not necessarily sleeping, because you start dreaming. So if the body is very still, you are resting. Assuming that you eat well and that you work well and have physical exercise and all of that, you are resting. But you are going through a phase that is already there. And you may be afraid to die. Now, the person who falls like this asleep doesn't mean that he's not afraid of dying. He just has no idea yet what is coming. But you who is falling asleep and cannot sleep, you know what's coming. So, you know, sometimes you need to take something that makes you fall asleep because, you know, enough is enough. But if you're in a situation where you can experiment and you can sleep a little bit in the afternoon or so to catch up, stay there. You're resting. So, why it's important to have the mind in the body is because the mind is going to separate from the body, and it only does that if it's completely in the body. It cannot separate from the body when it's hanging out in space. So that's very complicated. Then it becomes a real big struggle. And the struggle is really to get the mind first in the body and then leave. If you're trying to go out without being in the body, it's like tearing, you know, you're breaking things up. So you need to be in the body. And as the mind is in the body, it will separate from the body, and it will separate from that with which it has been engaged in. Right? Family, friends, you are separating from that. Now finally, but you will hear this again a few more times, if a person is dying and is what we call hallucinating, they are not necessarily hallucinating. Well, we give it a word, but what they're doing is they're experiencing the other worlds. So the best thing to do is to go with them and pretend or imagine you see it too. I'm not talking about illnesses, mental illnesses. I don't know, that's a different story. But with the dying people, if they start seeing things, you see them too. Don't say, no, they're not there. Don't say that. They are there. Because they're going through a layer that you and I don't see. So just go with them. They are normal, just like we are normal to not see them. Do they exist? No, but neither does what you and I see. It doesn't exist either. So we're seeing also mental images that don't really exist. Okie dokie. So it is a very interesting world that we're going in, and maybe finally, this is an old Chinese saying apparently, that somebody was dreaming. What shall we call this person? Genevieve, or I don't know, Jacqueline, or I don't know, I hope you don't know Jacqueline. So a person was dreaming, let's say call her Jacqueline, was dreaming that she was a butterfly. And she was roaming around the trees and enjoying the tastes and the smells of the flowers and the birds and the bees. And Jacqueline woke up and she said, I was dreaming I was a butterfly. Well, how do you know that the butterfly was not dreaming that she was Jacqueline? Shall we have a silent break?
Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme Hum Re. Om Mani Padme